I'm Serena Simmons and welcome to 8 Model Psychology. Today we're going to be looking at whether you feel that you are living your purpose. Now I know before we dive into this one today, I can probably guess that you are maybe a bit sick of hearing this. Yeah, I know, are you living your purpose? Are you living your dream? Are you living your passions? But actually, like most things, there's no smoke without fire. And in other words, living your purpose is actually something that we should all be interested in. In fact, living your purpose is so important that I've devoted an entire module to this in the Evolve section of the model. In this section, we spent a lot of time focusing on whether you feel you are doing what you really feel you have been put on this earth to do. And if we're just to step back and just define it a little bit more, ultimately, when we're interested in your purpose, what we are interested in is your big why. In other words, do you know what you're here to accomplish? What do you want your legacy to be? This doesn't have to be that confronting or that big if this feels really big and scary to you, because you can just start to look at this on a micro scale. In other words, on a day-to-day basis, do you feel happy in the things that you're doing? Do you maybe feel like you're working in the right area and really engaging in living your passion? Now, there will be some of you that are watching this thinking, well, I know my big why, I know what my purpose is. But actually, today is more for you if you feel that sometimes you struggle with really knowing why you're here and what you're here to do. And today is also about giving you some tips that you can start to implement straight away to get a feel for what this purpose, what this big why might be for you. Now, I just want to say before I go on to these tips that it took me personally a long time to figure this out. So this isn't necessarily something that will happen overnight, and just by implementing these tips and strategies doesn't mean that you will know immediately what this is. It doesn't mean to say that you won't have an aha moment, because you might well have that. But what this might be for you is more of a slow burn. So it's a process. And like I said, it took me a long time. It took me many years of kind of compiling pieces together and putting them all together to figure out what I really, really wanted to do. So let's look at these 4 steps, starting with step number 1, and that is to try new things. Now, if you've hung around here for any length of time, then you will know that at 8 we are big on pushing you out of your comfort zone, and that's why it's such an integral part of this model. Because if you are trying to figure out something for yourself as big as your why or your purpose, then you're going to have to step out of what you already do. You're going to have to step out of your norm. You're going to have to break your routine. So I really encourage you, if you are trying to figure this out for yourself, just to get out there and to try new things and try new experiences. Just for some tips, this could mean traveling to new places. It could mean reading new books, meeting new people and trying new activities. The key to this though is to not have an end result in mind. In other words, if you put the pressure on yourself that you have to find what your purpose is as a result of doing this thing, it kind of takes the exploration and the adventure away. In other words, play. Tip number 2 is to think about what you like to do as a child. Yeah, there might be lots of things that you like to do as a kid, but what I'm talking about specifically are those things that you really gravitated towards. What was it for you? Was it playing instruments or playing some kind of music? Was it that you were always building things like dens and things out of Lego and other kind of constructions? Maybe you're a big reader or like to write stories. Brainstorm this and make a list of all of those things that you love to do as a child, because that is often a good indicator of something that you might like to try again now. Tip number 3 is to identify when you feel that you lose time. Now, there are lots of other researchers in this particular area, and how they might describe it is as being in your flow or in being in your element. So Ken Robinson talks about this, and he talks about finding your element. So finding something that you just really love to do, and like I said, where when you're doing this thing you feel like you completely lose time because you're so absorbed in the process. This is actually really important, and I'm going to share a really amazing quote from him about finding your element when he says, "Finding your element is essential to your well-being and ultimate success, and by implication to the health of our organisations and the effectiveness of our education systems." Go Ken! We like Sir Ken Robinson here at 8 Model Psychology. So like I said, think about when you might be in your element, and that's another good indicator of the other things that you could try to find your purpose. The last thing I want to share with you is just a little extra tip really, and that is just to not put any pressure on yourself when you're doing this, to think that this thing, this purpose, must therefore be your career career or your vocation. Finding your purpose doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing this thing for your job, and this is often where a lot of people go wrong, because they think, well, if this is what my purpose is, surely this is my income, this is my living. Not necessarily true. You might be able to find your purpose doing multiple things, and to some degree that's what I did on my journey to doing what I do today. You see, I consider myself to be multi-passionate, and it was only via really indulging that way of being and doing lots of things that eventually over time I was able to identify the things that were going to bring in an income and the things that I just like to do for fun. I have to say, there is room for you in this space if you want to make a living from your passion, from your purpose. Then if you can identify that, then definitely go out there and pursue it. I hope that you found these tips useful today, and I would just like to share a cheeky quote before I go. This quote is on the back end of the last tip about your purpose not having to be your job and bringing in an income, and the quote goes a little something like this. They say do what you love and money will follow. Well, this afternoon I ate pizza and took a nap with my dog in my underpants. Now I wait. I don't know who came up with that quote, but it's a marvellous one. I'm going to be talking a lot more about finding your purpose here at APE. And if you would like to know more about all of the exciting things coming up, including our first events for this year, then please click on the link below to subscribe, where you will be the first to find out about where they'll be, and you'll also be given the first early bird discounts that no one else will get. And also we've got some really exciting products, services, and some amazing interviews coming up in the next few months. So do click on that link below to subscribe, and that way you get this in your inbox every single week. Bye!